So Newcastle United have left out Alexander Isak from their squad that travels to the Far East today, setting off for a 3-game tour, taking on Arsenal, K-League 11 and Tottenham across 2 countries in Singapore and South Korea. But Newcastle striker Alexander Isak will not be part of that, and the reasons emerging from the squad. Originally was scheduled to be on that flight.
Wanted to sign Isak earlier in the year. They're facing a K-League 11 and they're also facing Tottenham Hotspur in South Korea. 3 huge games that, will hopefully spread the profile of the club a little bit more. But Newcastle not with their star man. He's been left out of the squad that's now departed for the Far East because of a thigh injury. It's only meant to be a minor injury. He's not on the flight. I guess further explanations will, come from Eddie Howe in the next few days. He is due to meet the press on numerous occasions over in both Singapore and South Korea, so I'm pretty sure he will be asked. He was obviously asked about this at the weekend, said that Isak was left out because of speculation surrounding his future. No mention of injury at that stage, but there was a mention of managing a player's minutes, and Isak did have these injury problems towards the end of last season. Newcastle will not want to take a risk for him, but he's not with the squad going over to the Far East, and that's going to be disappointing for some of the fans going over there who wanted to see a full strength team. But it's an opportunity for others, the likes of Will Asula, the likes of Sean Neve, a chance to stake their claim. But Newcastle frustrated in the transfer market, that's another story. This is a big development that Isak is not with the squad, and the reason cited, as I say, is because of a minor thigh injury. Now, I guess the situation with Alexander Isak, it won't do a lot to dampening down. I guess the situation with Alexander Isak not being on the flight will not do a great deal to sort of play down any noise surrounding the striker. I think a lot was made of Isak being left out at Celtic, being left at home. Eddie Howe coming out on the record and saying, he wasn't going to be involved. A lot was said about that, but I think realistically now for Newcastle, you've kind of got to get on with preparations without Isak. If the injury situation is healed by the time they get back, now, by the time they get back, it's actually going to be August the 4th, which is ahead of those 2 games. That Sella Cup weekend against Espanyol and Atletico Madrid. So that would only give Newcastle, if he recovers from that injury, that would only give them 2 games before the Premier League's big kickoff. So there's a lot that needs to be sort of looked at with this. He would have 11 days to get fit for that game against Aston Villa, and I think really that's not a lot of time for your star player. But look, hopefully he shakes this one off. Hopefully Newcastle can shake off all this transfer speculation, which they're going through at the minute. And this, as I say, this won't help. This will add a little bit of fuel to the fire. And I think for Newcastle fans, they know with Alexander Isak, this was always going to be a big summer.
So we've had the contract situation that wasn't signed. That was, talk of that was played down from autumn onwards. After that, you look at it and you think Newcastle, we're always going to be vulnerable to other teams being interested in Alexander Isak because they couldn't offer him that huge pay packet that other teams can because of the PSR situation. Newcastle unable to break the wage ceiling. Now, for Newcastle, this represents a new development, the fact that Isak is not on the flight, but